I guess we can start off with introductions. If you don't want to give your last name, I mean, I understand. It's just. But Nick Perea, Grand Lodge in New Mexico, Sandia Lodge number 72, and been a Mason for right around 3 years. Could be 2.5, could be 4. I don't know. Yeah.
Nice. Well, James Christopher, Grand Lodge in New Mexico, Sandia Mountain 72, past master of Sandia Mountain 72. Been a Mason just over 10 years now.
Peace, Brother Davin Teague, past master of Sandoval 76, and current treasurer of Sandia Mountain 72. Been a member of this lodge too for a while, and I've been a Mason for be 8 years in October.
Those are some long time. Extremely long time. Hey, my name is. I know exactly. I'll get there one day eventually. My name is Jay Russ, Mason of Sandia Mountain number 72 as well. Been a Mason now for about 4 years, going on 5. It's a joy and a pleasure of being here today with all my brothers. I'm somewhat excited to see how we're going to kick this off and what we're going to talk about, because as you heard, there's a lot of knowledge here at this table. Exit mine. I don't have no knowledge, but everybody else has more knowledge of Masonry than I do. And so I'm just, like I said, I'm just super excited to see how this is going to go. So I'm not for sure how you actually want to start off or anything like that. But you know what? I know, man, we can start off talking about the DeMolay.
I was just going to say that because we have. I was just going to say that.
Oh, dear.
Because I know that there's a lot of people out there that want to know about the DeMolay. I really don't know enough about the DeMolay to talk about it. And so we have what I call the state expert in DeMolay.
Well, that's a little far, but not terribly far. No, I have done a lot of work with DeMolay. That's actually kind of how I found my introduction into Masonry was, my dad was a Mason, and I said, how can I be a Mason? And he said, well, you can't. You are only 11. And so 6 months later, we're hanging out at the Shrine Circus. He goes, hey, remember how we were talking about Masonry? Well, here's this group you can join. Here you go. And that's how I got thrust into the Masonic family through DeMolay. But really, couldn't have been a better opportunity for me. It was something that set me up for the next 12, 15 years in just terms of success. I didn't expect that I would find as much as I found in DeMolay. I gained a lot about how to speak to people, how to market myself, how to sell a product. I learned about the tenets of Masonry through a group that helped young men be leaders. And I think that's kind of the essence of DeMolay, is it's giving them practical skills through a lens of the Masonic lessons.
How old do you have to be to join?
Anywhere from 8 to 13, you'd be part of our Squire program, which is kind of like the pre-DeMolays, those who were interested but not quite old enough. And then from 12 to 21 is the actual corpus of DeMolay itself. And that's where the bulk of the membership is.
Very cool. And you started what age?
I started little after I was 12 years old. So I got the privilege of coming into Masonry with 6-7 years of Masonic experience already, just in being around the Masonic family.
Yeah, so you're honestly the vet amongst us.
It feels I had
the youngest amongst us.
I had to bring that out when I was master. I was like, wait a minute, I'm really young, but I came into this with a lot of experience that I didn't put together until I was up in the East.
Were you the youngest master here?
Awesome.
I think to date I am the youngest master of the lodge.
I would say.
We got one more young one coming up who might beat me. I'm not 100% on that.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Walt Disney was a DeMolay.
Walt Disney,
that's what I heard.
one of my favorite DeMolays. Bill Clinton was one. I mean, we had John Wayne, Fran Tarkenton,
Yes,
all these famous.
Fran Tarkenton, the football player?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Senior DeMolay.
Oh,
That's
nice.
so awesome. Hey, the Park brother, please promote. Tell us what this is and what.
So I wanted to show it's called a Night Out with the Masons. The reason I did that is because a few of us here are Knights Templar, but it's just kind of a play. I don't know if it'd be a play on words, but a night spelled Knight, a night out with the Masons. And I just wanted to show the brotherhood, the fellowship of Masonry. I mean, especially because COVID took everybody's friends away. Nobody, they have the gamers have that joke, go touch some grass. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and now it's like nobody's I feel like a lot of people are so shut in their house, and I think Freemasonry for not everybody, but for a lot of folks, a lot of young men would be a good thing to get out and to, make some friends and make some brothers, and learn a lot of cool stuff along the way, how to become a better man, or whatever they may take from Freemasonry. Everybody gets has their own ride and takes their own path, but yeah.
No, I agree. While Masonry may not be strictly one thing, it is for sure, in part, a social outlet for a lot of the Masons. A lot of Masons do get their weekly outings and a lot of their conversation just through coming to lodge, and that's really their big interactions for the week. And I think that does make a lot of difference for the brothers.
Sure.
Because even in that, right, when the brothers actually come out to the lodge, one of the things I like about Nick's vision, for this, is not just only just being contained within the lodge, but also just coming outside of the lodge as well, just showing the humanistic side of who we are as individual people. Because a lot of times, right, when people see Masons or think about Masons, right, they don't look at the events and things that we're a part of. Because like for me, some people might like skiing, some people might like basketball, sporting events and things like that, bowling and what have you. And I know that based upon those activities, there's a lot of Masons that do those activities. And so then it's just a matter of them just coming together collectively and say, hey, look, at one night, let's just go to the bowling alley, let's just go certain things like that. And so there's a lot of fellowship that can happen amongst the Masons just outside of the lodge itself. And I just wanted to share that with individual people who are viewing this, because right, it's not all about just being in a lodge as well. It's also about barbecuing, and going different.
Scotch and cigar
Right.
Scotch and cigar night for those that smoke and things like that. And so right, there's a lot of activities that we actually do together, family activities, that we actually do together, because some of them have children, so the kids, they go to the parks and play, they go to different gyms or children gyms or trampoline activities, whatever it may be, and so we just wanted to show y'all that part of Masonry, because every time I look on the internet, I always see something different. I always see the negative part of Masonry. And very few people show the positive aspect, of Masonry, just as us just coming together, as men, and just spending some time together. And I really appreciate that part of Masonry in itself.
Yeah, this is real life Masonry right now. Brothers from different backgrounds, different cultures coming together. If I may, can I share my
Absolutely,
story real quick?
please.
My story is unique. My father was a Prince Hall Freemason. And I didn't know until he died. And I had seen some of his regalia. I actually still have his ritual book from Indiana, which I carry in my pocket usually when I come to lodge meetings. But, so my first interaction with Freemasonry, on an official level, I still fix and flip homes. And I needed a plumber and an HVAC guy and a person to do my home. And I was recommended to Brother Leon. Works for Brother Leon from a friend of mine. So when he came to the house I was working on, he had his hat with his square compass. And so right away, I was like, brother, I was like, sir, my dad was a Freemason. And I took him into a house, started showing him books. I was like, I had a copy of Morals and Dogma that my dad had. I had all these stuff, and he's like, wait, have you read that? I was like, I have actually. I've read most of it. And he's like, well, wow. He's like, well, I'm the current master of Sandoval. Why don't you come and have dinner with us? So the thing I've been I was like, my father's a Freemason, so I waited for like all these years for somebody to come and get me. I thought my dad's a Freemason. I was like, you're gonna come find me, like you're gonna come get me, you know what I mean? And it took, you know, that interaction of seeing that brother with his regalia and his hat on, and worship Brother Leon always tell you, you know, wear your Masonic stuff if you have a chance, you know, because it will draw a brother in. And that's what happened. So we ended up having a 2-hour conversation and didn't get no work done. We had a 2-hour conversation about Masonry.
Charged you double.
He came
I'm
back.
just playing. I'm just
Came
playing.
back, he got the work done, but I went to Sandoval. So on my first visit to Sandoval, it was a joint night with Prince Hall and Sandoval.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
So I seen all these, you know, these men, these wonderful brothers, you know, African American men, brother from all different cultures. I was like, what? I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was like, and this lodge? I was like, oh yeah, you know. And so the brothers, well, you know, there's a choice. There's Prince Hall. There's this. I knew my dad was from. I didn't know the difference. They were like, come back next meeting. So I went back to the next meeting, and a lot of the African brothers weren't there. So I'm like, well, okay, what happened, you know? They're like, well,
It's a
no,
bait
you
and
know.
switch.
They're like, no, this is Prince Hall, you know, and then this and this, but you know, you're welcome to join the slide. And I was like, you know, I was like, I lived on that side. I was like, you know, if Masonry is about bringing us all together, it doesn't matter where I join. Let me
Sure.
just join. And so I joined, and I'm so blessed that I was able to join Sandoval Lodge, because being a part of mainstream Freemasonry means that I'm able to fellowship with all the brethren from all different cultures and our Prince Hall brethren. If you know the history of Prince Hall, you know there's a big history there. And it's not just African American men there. Anybody could join Prince Hall as well. But, you know, there's a big history of Prince Hall, but just being able to have that fellowship amongst both of them. And I didn't know at the time. And I'm very pleased and very happy that, you know, brothers accepted me, because I've met brothers from all cultures and to sit down and talk, old men from 90 years old to young men of 20 years old that are Asian, that are white, and we all fellowship. We all have a common bond of knowing that we are trying to improve ourselves and make ourselves the best we can in society. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Freemasonry. But that's my story. So I joined Sandoval. I ended up joining, but now, of course, I fellowship with all the Prince Hall brothers as well as my brothers and everybody. So I've been blessed to have a wonderful introduction to Freemasonry. Thank you for letting me share my story.
No. Thank you for sharing. You'd kind of gotten into yours.
Yeah, you know, the big bulk of it was for sure my experience through DeMolay. I would say, had I not had that experience, I still would have become a Mason, but I would not have been able to experience it near as in-depth as I have to date. Had I just joined at 18 not knowing what Masonry was, I wouldn't have had that lead time to really, I mean, through DeMolay I got to travel the country. I got to compete in national speech competitions. I was, you know, all in for whatever they were doing for that 9 years.
That's awesome.
When you say you competed in what you say, national speech competition,
I did.
did you win any of them?
Well, one or two.
He's very modest.
No, I did have a goal when I was a member. They have this national competition every year. They call it the Frank Marshall Tournament. They do their ritual, and it's who can do it the best verbatim, who can do the best performance, who gets the floor work correctly in the right order. And so it's all these things that are scored. And so I had a goal of I wanted to be on that national title book 10 times. And so I was able to hit that. I was the only person so far to reach double digits in that book of just my name in different spots all around. You go, oh, there he is again. So I definitely made that my goal. Is I was good at memorizing things, so I really wanted to be a competitive person with that. And it really allowed me to feel like I excelled well.
So did you join right when you join this lodge right when you turned 18?
As soon as I could, yes. My 18th birthday present from my family was, here's the money to join lodge.
I mean, your father was...
Exactly, and that was the big thing. Is my dad was like, hey, I'm glad that you found this. I didn't find it when I was 18, but if you're ready, here's the money for it.
That's awesome. I've heard some great stories about your father as well.
He is fantastic. He's still our musician,
Yes, sir.
because he's, you know, in high revere from the brothers that remember him.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's awesome. Your story, brother.
Have I told you that story? Or not?
How'd you get here?
Hey, keep it G. You know, just
Keep it clean.
Yeah, keep it PG. Keep it G.
I just got here.
No, that was a different Nick. Different Nick.
Yeah.
I'm not involved in it.
Excuse me, I gotta go to the bathroom. When I was 13, my mom, her work husband was a Freemason, 32nd Scottish Rite. Might have been 33rd. I don't know. I've been wanting to look through the records and see, but I really don't know. But he was heavily into Freemasonry. And when I was about 13, my mom, just walking by, I wasn't the best student, but she said, when you get old enough, you should look into Freemasonry. She dropped it then, and I'd never gave it a second thought. I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. Went through high school, and I went to the Navy. And then after that, I ended up in city government, where I retired. And once I retired about 2 years early with some medical stuff. But once I retired and I started to feel a little bit better, that Freemason thing had stuck in my head. And I started researching it, as you do on YouTube, and you see a lot of wild stuff on YouTube, you know what I mean? You see a lot of wild stuff, and then you see, you go to Reddit and you go to all these other places. And Prince Hall Mason on YouTube told his story he was already a Mason, and I don't remember what two states he was bringing his family across country, basically. So I'm going to call it from Cali to Florida, because I don't remember the story in detail. But broke down. I think he lost his wallet, or it got stolen or something. He's in some podunk town. He doesn't know, where he's at, and he's with the wife and the kids, and they're in a van, fully loaded, getting ready to go cross country. And so he said, I call the local lodge. I tell them I'm a Freemason. 6 Masons pull up. They put money in my pocket. They put me up for the night, me and my family, and they gave us enough money to make it back to, let's call it Florida, because I don't remember exactly what state it was. And I thought, I was like, to be on either side of that, whether I'm helping somebody or whether I'm, on my butt, in the middle of nowhere, and I would love to be a part of either one of those. So that was, so I went to 4 different lodges, and
Not Santa. No.
I went to 60. I went to Sandoval, Temple, and then I ended up here. But yeah,
That's awesome.
and I wouldn't even known about this lodge because at the time the website was down, so it didn't even pop up.
Yeah,
It didn't even pop up on Google. So
That's right.
it was this dude right here. I so happened to go to Temple, and he was at Temple.
Oh, what?
Mhm.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's funny is I was here the night when you were brought here.
Yes, you
I
was.
was the night when you were brought here.
Yeah, and so
That's awesome.
when I talked to him, I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, I don't know, like, cause I just, the ones that I had visited, they were cool, and I was thinking, I was like, okay, maybe I'll petition one of those, but nothing really had, like, really grabbed me and struck me. You know what I mean? But I was like, all 3 of them were nice lodges for sure.
Oh, most definitely.
So
I would love that.
yeah,
But,
and I had told him, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna go to Prince Hall. I said I want to see what they're about, because I don't, when you don't know about Masonry, you just
Right, so then let me check it all out.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
He's like, well, before you go to Prince Hall, bro, check out my lodge. I'm like, all right, well, where's your lodge?
Mhm.
He told me where, and I'm like, bro, I've done deep searches on Google. That does not pop up
Right?
anywhere.
We
We was definitely a secret.
Yeah, we are not easy to physically find.
No. He's like, I'm at university. I'm like, and so I'm looking on my phone. I'm like, and I told him, I'm like, bro, that don't even pop up. So I'm thinking, like, is this real? Like, you
Right,
know,
is this a real lodge?
Because you do read about,
Yeah,
like,
this guy's sending me to
clandestine
this guy's sending me to a trailer behind a building.
Amen. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's exactly
But
right. But it's beautiful.
It really.
Hey, Grandpa Kiers has made this spot special.
Right, as
No,
much as you know, we love to
yes.
joke about being our little trailer lodge. Like we have put so much craftsman work just
It's
in
a
terms of
special-
what the people want to put into
Yeah.
this lodge.
Oh yeah.
And you see, you have other brothers from other lodges joining our lodge now.
Sure.
It's plurally at this lodge.
Mhm.
There's special. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I came here, I came here obviously because of Grandpa Kiers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But I was like, this is a special lodge. There's the brother in here, the
Yeah.
intimacy here. I love it, man. So
And that's something that we have gotten a lot is, a lot of brothers come to us as their second home base. Wherever they join, they're like, oh, I like hanging out with these guys.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
most definitely.
good
yeah.
brothers. That's what we're about. That's what the fraternity's about.
Yeah, I think I've done 4 interviews, and 2 of them were for already Masons. They were from different lodges. So I was like, okay, well, what are we going to say? No? come on in, bro. Come on in. But yeah, that's pretty cool stuff.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that was one of my joys and pleasures right when I met Nick. Because my story is similar to everybody's story almost, and basically it was just wanting something better, knowing that there was something out there, and how can I actually find it to be a part of something. Because like my story was, I always wanted to be a Mason. Always wanted to be a Mason. I seen Masons in my family growing up. Was in Chris Hall, and then when I was in the military, I seen a lot of Masons in the military. However, I didn't want to join or be a part of Masonry while I was in the military. And all the Masons that I knew about were Prince Hall Masons. That was it. That's all I was exposed to. And then when I came out here, I was out here for several years. And then one day, one of my friends, he showed up and he was like, "Hey, Jeff." And I saw that he had a square compass hat on in his ring. I said, "Hey, man, you a Mason?" He said, "Yes, yeah, I'm a Mason." And we started talking about Masonry. And then come to find out that he was a Prince Hall Mason. And then he was like, he talked to me. He said, "Why don't you join?" I said, "You know what, man? I'm not a real big fan of Prince Hall, but I actually want to join the Masonry." Then he said, "Not a problem. I got you." And I was like, "What does that mean?" Like, "Oh, you got me." Like, what does that mean? And so he made phone calls on my behalf to figure out what lodge was open, that the week that I was in talking about it or thinking about it. And he was like, "Hey, there's a lodge that's open, Sandia Mountain number 72. I think that you ought to go check it out." And I was like, "Man, I don't know nobody there." He says, "Not a problem. I'll go with you."
That's the night that I met you.
That's the night that I actually met you.
Yes, sir.
And then I showed up. All the brothers were welcoming. All the brothers was talking to me. And I just felt at home here. And I know a lot of times people say, "Hey, man, you need to check out other lodges." And for me, there was no need to check out no other lodge. Because once I came here, I was just like...
Right, you're like, oh, this is the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, because that's when I met him. Dad, he was talking to me, in the foyer out there while we was eating free meals. Because not
They were free.
At the time they were free meals.
Free meals for for the profane.
And so I met.
Should have
Dad
waited
there.
3 times to petition at least. You know what I mean?
You should have. I know. And I was gracious enough to meet Dav, and I met a lot of good brothers that particular night. And really encouraged me to actually come back. And so I came back again, and I had more questions in Masonry, and all of them took the time out to really talk to me about Masonry. Because like Nick was saying, there's so much stuff out there on the internet, and people say a lot of outlandish things. However, it's not until you actually are in it yourself that you can actually you can actually see what are lies and what are not. And then, I talked to Dav again. Dav showed up again. And he talked to me, and we sat about 30, 40 minutes one night, and we sat out there and we talked. And then based upon talking to him, I made my decision. It's like, you know what, this is the lodge I was at. Then I asked for a petition. You know, the brothers gave me a petition, and here I am. You know,
That's awesome.
about 4 or 5 years later.
Damn, it doesn't even seem that long, but I'm like, this like seems like
Right, I'm
couple
like,
years,
I remember him doing his degrees.
Yeah, doing your degrees. And if I may speak real quick, I'm gonna have to leave real quick, brother. And I apologize,
Sure.
Oh,
man.
yes.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
I had
man.
some-
Well, it's just a pleasure to be in here.
But you know, I no disrespect to Prince Hall at all, you know, or anything. I think one thing is if people who are watching this don't know about Prince Hall has its own separate history of how it established itself and how it became a legitimate lodge, and they are on the same level as we are. I think one thing that gets misconstrued is that we think Prince Hall is just black Freemasonry, and then mainstream is just, you know, for the old white guys. But as you see this podcast here, we're all mainstream. You have a Hispanic or a Latino brother. You have our European brother. You have a couple of African brothers.
What? A couple of them? We're African?
Well, we're all African. You know what I'm saying? No. But you know, but you know, I think and Prince Hall has definitely has been a pioneer in Freemasonry in this country. And if you know those who are not familiar, please look up the history. And honestly, you know, if I didn't know, but I probably would have joined Prince Hall just because my father's a Prince Hall. But I think my father would be proud of me for joining mainstream and being able to share and spread light amongst all our cultures and becoming a worshipful master. You know, I'm totally honored and humbled. You know what I mean, that I've been able to be accepted in this fraternity. But it shows the good of fraternity. It shows it accepts. It's not about your color, your race, your whatever. It's about what you do, the work you put in, the meritocracy. This is a meritocracy. It's about the work you put in. If you put in the work, then those things come to you. You know what I mean? And so I truly seen this fraternity, and if you study the history of it, it's had its bad, it's had its good, it's had a lot of things after it. But the bottom line is, what you put into it, you're gonna get out much more. And that's for mainstream Freemasonry and Prince Hall Freemasonry. We're all linked. We're all linked. Thankful to our brethren, you know, back in the 90s or back in the days who made this happen. But whatever, that's a different subject. That's for the next podcast. But thank you for letting me rant, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No
Yes,
problem. By all means. Are you going to bounce?
I am going to bounce. How should I exit?
And bye.
Make sure you bounce, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you,
Take
brother.
care.
Please, man, thank you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, he's not bouncing everybody. He's
Brother,
walking.
man, thank you, brother. This is
graciously.
awesome, man. I will see you guys next time.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, sir.
for sure.
Please, man. And you brothers have it hold it down.
We'll do.
I'll try.
You know, and to me, that's one of the things that I look at, you know what I'm saying, as Masonry as a whole, is what we have, you know what I'm saying, together, you know, as individuals, because right, we could all connect on some form of, you know what I'm saying, humanity.
Sure.
And I think that's what we are missing in the world today. We are missing that type of humanity or respect, you know what I'm saying, for each other. And here in Masonry, you know, we actually have that respect, you know what I'm saying, for each other. Even though it could get kind of dicey every now and then, but however, at the end of the day, you know, regardless of how right, we treat one another or how we act, if one of my brothers called me, you know what I'm saying, for anything, regardless of where we're at on the spectrum,
Sure.
you know, I'm there for you.
Sure. You could have gotten in a little tiff, a little argument, but you're like, you know, if you and I had an argument and I called you next day, said, hey, man, I'm in a bad way. I broke down.
Yeah.
And I'm in Santa Fe. Can you come pick me up, regardless of whether we're in an argument or not?
See you in 45.
Exactly.
Hey, I'll be down there about
Exactly.
45 minutes, you know, to
Yeah.
help you out. Yeah. And that's the thing that I love about, you know, saying Masonry as a whole, is just spending time with everybody and just hearing everybody's story. You know, because your story was different from mine. My story was different from yours.
Sure.
And yet we all just came to the same understanding of how great Masonry is, you know, saying, for ourselves, despite of what we have heard, you know, saying, throughout the years. But yet, man, I'm still interested in the DeMolay. Because you said something about that you had. What's the age group for DeMolay? And can a Mason, a master Mason, can a master Mason be a DeMolay, or how does that work?
I'm gonna refill my cup. You
Yeah.
want a refill?
Oh, I still got some. I'm good.
Okay. Jeff, you good?
Oh,
And-
yes,
and
sir.
then I got a pee too. So
I got
you guys.
I got my Snapple right here,
Gotcha.
brother.
But no, it's. Can you repeat that question again for me?
Nope, I'm not repeating nothing.
Okay. The answer is no.
No, the question is you talked about the DeMolay, and I just wanted to know the age group of the DeMolays, and also can a Master Mason be a
Yeah.
DeMolay?
So, DeMolays, to be part of the group of DeMolay International, you start at 12 years old.
Okay.
And you can be a Mason up until you're 21. Or, sorry, you can be a DeMolay up until you're 21.
Okay. So
Now-
you have to age out, or
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Depends on your state.
Got
Some
it.
states you have to be 21 to be a Mason. And some states you can be 18 and be a Mason. So in the states where you can be 18, generally it's allowed that you can do both. And especially when you start getting to like the heads of the groups, like the state master counselors of the DeMolay, the youth who's in charge, they actually encourage like, hey, being a Mason enables you to talk more about DeMolay to the Masons directly. Because, you can't go into a Masonic meeting if you're not a Mason.
Okay. Yes.
And so in those jurisdictions where you can be 18 and be a Mason, it is possible, not always common. I mean, here in New Mexico is a good example of, we've got a lot of DeMolays that have come up through, but I've probably got about a dozen young men that were in with me or shortly after me that have joined Masonry out of, the 50 to 100 that were around.
Okay.
And so, never a requirement, but you can be both. At least here you can. So I got the joy of being 18, being a DeMolay and a Mason, and doing both. And during that time, I definitely put a lot more of my focus on DeMolay, because that has a time limit.
Yeah.
When you're 21, you age out of DeMolay. You're no longer a DeMolay. And so, while I was both, I put a lot more focus on the DeMolay while I could still do that.
Okay. Now, let's say somebody like me that's never been in the DeMolay, barely knows a little bit about it outside of what you have taught me. Now, can I say, hey, can I be an honorary DeMolay? Can I be a DeMolay? Is there a degree that I could join, or how does that work? Or no?
It is actually, same answer, it depends on your state.
Oh, okay.
Each state gets the option to, if they want to, they can make an honorary chapter. Anyone can be a member of that honorary chapter within whatever rules they set. Within New Mexico, we do have that. We do have the option of, if you're a Mason or if you were never a DeMolay, but you're interested in supporting it, you can pay an initiation fee, and then you can pay your one-time dues or your lifetime dues, and go be initiated into DeMolay as part of their ceremony. And
okay.
while you don't get the voting rights like a DeMolay would, you don't get to vote in their meetings, you do get to go through the same ceremonies those young men went through, see what morals they get taught directly, and see it in a different lens than just being on the sidelines seeing it. You actually get to go through and say like, wow, if I was a 12-year-old getting this, that'd be pretty powerful.
No. Wow.
How similar is it to Masonry?
It is largely based off of the Masonic ritual. I mean, they have very similar stations around the room. They have similar goals. But it has entirely its own ritual.
Okay.
It was written by a Mason out of Kansas City, and he focused on 7 morals that he wanted the DeMolays to learn. And they kind of line up with the Masonic stuff, but they are really their own core
Gotcha.
lessons. And same with the Rainbow Girls. They have their 7 core stations. The Job's Daughters have their epics that they tell as parables to the girls. And so each one kind of has their own morals, but they are rooted in Masonry because it was written by Masons, and so they went with what they knew.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
And, same thing with a lot of college fraternities. A lot of college fraternities, when you look at their initiation rituals, have a lot of parallels to Masonry in one regard or another.
Sure.
Some borrow from the York Rite, some from the Blue Lodge, some from the Scottish Rite. And that's because the guys who founded that fraternity in particular were Masons. And they, used what they knew to empower another generation.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Man, that's interesting. Of the overlay.
It is.
In everything.
And you start to see, I especially love the youth groups will do what they call shadow meetings.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
So they'll go through and do their normal opening and closing and their ceremonies, but they invite all of the Masons to attend, and one Mason shadows one person and just follows them around and does exactly what they would do in the meeting. And so, you can get some of the goofiness and, kind of mimicry and having fun with seeing the Masons trip over themselves.
Start doing dance moves. And
I have definitely started dancing while I was shadowing one. But at the same time, you also get to go through and go, they are learning the same kind of steps that I have to learn to take care of, say, something like the Bible. How do you be reverent in using Holy Scriptures? How do you approach and not approach an altar? How do you maintain respect in these meetings? And they are not afraid to call out the Masons behind them if they do it wrong.
Yeah.
And I love that. It always makes me laugh.
Hey, you're not doing it right. You need to mirror me.
Yeah, you need to be slower. Excuse you.
Yeah, I can just
12-year-old.
imagine the looks. They're like,
Oh, and for my works with middle schoolers, they are not afraid to tell you what they feel.
oh yeah. Well, the thing is they're smarter than you in their mind. You know what I mean? That's just
And they
the way
will let you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When you were in middle school, when I was in middle school, we were all smarter than our parents. You know what I mean? And
I
then-
always thought I knew it all.
Yeah. And then when life hits you, you're like, parents are making sense.
Yeah, it's almost
I
like,
should
man.
listen to that.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
man, I don't feel like an adult no more. Can I go back?
Right.
Can I go back? And I used to tell my mom all the time, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna come back home and live with you." Well, yeah, no, you're not there, mom. I'm gonna come back home. And it's funny because I was serious about that.
Yeah,
And
she's
then,
like, "No, you're not."
Yeah, and then right when you're them being single and they're trying to date, and the first question that comes out their mouth, "Hey, you don't live with your mama, do you?" And I was like,
Right, hey, where you live?
I know. And for me, I wanted to say, I wish I could, because I would live with my mama in my mama's basement. It doesn't matter to me, But I just like the fact that, as you can see, we're just out here just having fun, and talking about certain things. And I wish that, we had a means to do answers and questions, that some of y'all might have out there, as it pertains to Masonry. Because, for us, as you can see, man, we're just free flowing in it. And by asking some of those questions, you'll get real answers.
Right.
Instead of just getting answers from those individuals who have a disheartening or disliking for Masonry, based
Right.
upon either being kicked out of Masonry for whatever reason, for conduct, what have you. And so, they're somewhat kind of bitter. And so everything that they research online is all going to be negative. They're going to show negative, talk negative, and be negative. And so for us just to be here, to spend this time with y'all, it's a blessing for me, because I like talking about Masonry, and I like learning about Masonry. I like listening about Masonry, because I take a different stance than what most people take when it comes to Masonry.
Well, Jeff and I got Jeff into TikTok, and I told him just be careful with the Freemasonry, because you have Freemasons who will go on, and they don't share any secrets. They just a bunch of Masons will come in and they all BS.
They just
and,
vamp.
Yeah, they just vamp, and I got senior steward, I got senior warden. Everybody's just kind of BSing, and then you have a Q&A where they'll answer questions that they can. You got folks like that. I mean, I've learned so much from there. Like, as far as Sweden, like they have to be Christian to be in a Swedish lodge.
That was a weird one that
It was
I'd heard,
crazy, yeah. So, and then, but they do have 4 Norwegian lodges in Sweden, but you don't have to be Christian. So
exactly, it's their workaround.
yeah, exactly.
I want to say the most interesting jurisdiction I'd heard of, I think it was Luxembourg. As small of a country as it is, has like 3 different grand lodges that operate within it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then I learned that, and UK, there's a portion of it to where, like, a whole lodge will be plumbers, a whole lodge will be electricians, a whole lodge will be doctors. Like, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. But they all, they're all friends. They all attend.
Right, they
bunches
all
of,
coalesce, but they're
Absolutely.
all if you're in this kind of union, you're in this kind of lodge.
Exactly. It's just crazy how you see how Masonry is done in different countries, different states, different. I mean, because even just statewide, like, you'll talk to a Mason on TikTok, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't do that there," and you're like, "For real?" Like, and it's, you know, it's a question that only you two would understand, but you ask it in a certain way to where,
Right, you sit there and go, wow, that feels like a fundamental thing in my state. Why is that not a thing over there? What's your take on it?
exactly, and it's just, but then you have the people like Jeff had said, you got, you know, a handful of Masons who've been kicked out, who are just ranting on TikTok, trying, you know,
Right
they're
on.
upset, angry, and then you have the people, and my favorite ones are the people who just go by the YouTube videos and what they've read and all this
Right,
and all
I
that.
know all about Masonry.
Oh,
I'm an 893rd degree.
whoa, bro. So yeah, they're like, well, and then when you tell them you're wrong in the comments, they're like, well, you're not high enough of a Mason to understand that. It's like, okay, bro, like you really don't understand what's going on.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm not for whatever you're saying. Please leave.
Yeah,
You know, and to me, that's a funny situation to actually be in, right? When you have somebody tell you, well, you're not high enough. And then it's like, well, how high do you have to be
Right.
for you to
Yeah.
consider me legit? You know what I mean? Before you can consider me to listen to, like, how high is high?
yeah.
You know?
And then like when you go into the TikTok world, you find out how wild it really is, because there's a lot of you get the clandestines, and then you get the PHO, which is not PHA in
Right.
any way, shape,
Right,
or
no.
form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
So
and,
it's like
and we in New Mexico, we recognize PHA. And
nobody recognizes PHO.
Yeah, exactly.
But they
So-
were legit
right
back in the day.
Right, back,
And,
yeah, back before that schism.
Yep.
But I started looking up, you know, the history and how that split, because, you know, I'm not always big on the esoteric stuff of Masonry, but I really enjoy looking at the historical splits and what groups came from. So that's one of the niches that I really enjoy researching, and just looking at Prince Hall and that came about has been really interesting over the years. And yeah, it's just fascinating that, like, you know, differences in PHO, PHA, which states recognize each other, which states are they banned in certain areas. Like, you know, I was talking with my friend who was the master of a lodge in, I want to say South Carolina, North Carolina, and the year that he was master, Prince Hall got into some pretty heated trouble over an initiation in his state and got disbanded for temporarily.
oh, okay.
And so just hearing the different things that happen state to state, and, like, you know, brothers who say, I won't sit in a lodge in this state because they do not recognize Prince Hall. And,
Yeah.
and for brothers to take that stance,
Yeah,
and like, hey,
and there's a few states like that where it's like, what? Oh yeah, well we can't sit with them. I'm like, what? Okay, that's crazy, but and they're like, you can? I'm like, yeah, bro, I just went last week, bro. What are you
it
talking
was
about?
great. Why would
Yeah, why wouldn't it's like, man, they was in our lives a couple weeks
Exactly.
ago.
Yeah, it's just it's comedy. It's just a trip to see all that. Like it's, because I help. I'll jump in. I have a few buddies on TikTok. I got my boy Jay out of Dayton. He's in Ohio. Yeah, it's Dayton. And then I got another buddy, Otanka. He's a UK Mason.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but they used to do a ton of Q&A, and they would answer Q&A for. I mean, Otanka did it for 2 years straight, every day for 2 years. I mean, so I'd go in and I would talk, but he burned himself out, and he's like, "Dude, I'm done." So
Yeah.
he does maybe one a month, 2 a month, but just some of the questions you get, it's just it takes a toll on you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was in one of the lives, and this guy comes in and he says, he sounded like a younger cat. I think he was mid-20s, if I remember correctly. And he says, yeah, he says, I've been thinking about becoming a Mason. He says, right now I'm on the Order of Eastern Star. And I said, no, you're not. I said, no, you're not. And he was like, everybody, because I think I was in the English TikTok. So they don't know about, they're
Eastern
not,
Star.
OES is not in England. It's
Well,
just,
and that's the thing with UK Masonry is they do not allow for any groups that mimic Masonry,
right.
which is why, the youth groups aren't there either.
Right. That's why when France has the female masonry or the co-masonry, they're like,
Co-masonry, yeah.
okay, like, you are not recognized. It's just, it's too crazy. But, and then there's a lot of that in the comments. The women are like, well, why can't women join it? Well, it's a fraternity, not a sorority. Like, do you see men in sororities? You don't. Like, it's there's nothing against it. It's just, this is for men, this is for women. Just, that's it. It is what it is. OES, on the other hand, it's
Allows
co-ed.
for both.
Yes. It's co-ed. I mean, even if a woman joins because her dad was an OES, the husband can join too, but he's got to become a Mason first. You know what I mean? It's just one of those.
Right. I as a young man got to join DeMolay. I did not get to join Job's Daughters or Rainbow, but I got to join DeMolay, and there was a spot for me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so that dude, back to that guy who said he was OES. I said, no, you're not. Shh. Wake up.
Yep, that's usually when I take my nap.
But yeah, so he says, I said, no, you're not. He goes, no, but I am. I said, no, you're not. I said, whatever. He said, me and my mom joined. And I'm like,
Oh dear.
yeah. And I said, okay. I said, so explain it. So he explained it. And I said, whatever you're in is fake.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man, but you got to have.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
and he's all, and he literally freaked out. He was like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, run. I mean,
Yeah,
not literally run. They're not going to do anything to
But
you.
no, like
Yeah.
it's if you find out that you're in a clandestine group or a group that's not actually recognized by the bulk of Masonry,
Yeah.
just say like, hey, my bad.
Well-
Quietly step away.
And because I am the way I am, and sometimes I got to work on myself as a human too.
What?
I started. I'm like, bro, is your story real? And then another Mason came in and said, dude, there's 3 OES lodges, clandestine OES lodges in his state. And I'm like, I take that back. What you're saying is true. And I said, dude, do not go back to that lodge.
Right, we're sorry you joined a clandestine
yeah,
group.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
I said,
if you really are interested in the real thing, here's where you go. But sorry, you didn't
Yeah.
get what you thought you got.
Exactly. I'm like, look, if you're a man, you can't join unless you're a Mason. He's like, well, I don't know about that. And I said, look in the comments. Look in the comments. These are all Masons, dude. They're all telling you it's not. He's like, what's clandestine? I'm like, fake. It's wrong. It's not the right thing. It's
It's not secret. It's not legitimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like if you joined a militia and said you were in like the Army or the Navy or the
Right.
Marines. Like you're in a militia. It's something different. It's not the real
Not
thing.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and it's those individuals that give Masonry a bad name.
well, some of them unknowingly.
Yeah, unknowingly.
Yeah.
Unknowingly. But those that are in it, and then you try to tell them that what they're in is not recognized. Oh my goodness, a lot of them just go off and become so argumentative and trying to prove that they are.
Right. How do you know that you're not the fake one?
Yeah.
And bro, there's a brother we know. He's out of New York. He joined a clandestine lodge.
Mhm.
They hazed him so bad they sent him to the hospital for his EA. He wrote a book. So once he got out of the hospital, he reached out to a different lodge. He was Prince Hall, and it was. Let me take that back. From what I know, I don't know if it was a Grand Lodge State or a Prince Hall, but he reached out to a Prince Hall, and they said that is not a legit lodge.
Yeah, like we didn't do that.
Yeah.
So they did healing. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
they brought him
make
into
up
theirs.
for it, yeah. They're like, hey, you got the basics in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Now in New York, if I'm not mistaken, he's like the #1 advocate, and they call on him for anything shady or clandestine. He's in there. I mean, on TikTok, on whatever thing it is, he's right in there, and he's like, hey man, and he's super knowledgeable on it because he went through some stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. And,
yeah.
and he is a prime candidate for something that our Grand Lodge has, and I'm sure a lot of other Grand Lodges do have, is the Committee on Foreign Correspondence.
Yeah.
All those people who reach out from different jurisdictions say, hey, we're looking for recognition. We are a Grand Lodge. We are looking for recognition from your Grand Lodge. Will you recognize us? And that committee's whole job is to research them and go, hey, where do you hail from? Who was, the group that gave you your
Sure.
charters, and are they recognized by us? If they are, chances are we'll recognize. But that committee's whole job is to look at lodges that apply to us and say, hey, are you legit?
Right.
And that guy would be a prime candidate for something like that if they have that in New York.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's just some of the stories you hear, like especially on TikTok, TikTok because it's so right now.
No,
it's so.
One of
it's
the
just right there.
one of the most interesting ones I've heard was a brother who was looking to travel to Egypt, and I couldn't find a recognized Grand Lodge in Egypt, but I found like 3 clandestine Grand Lodges.
Oh shoot! That's hilarious.
And so all the ones he was looking at, I was like, yeah, you can't visit that one. Nope,
Yeah.
you can't visit that one. Oh, you can't visit that one. That one actually might kill you.
That's comedy. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, you hear, I've had we were on a TikTok with this dude who came up and 16 years in a clandestine lodge, broke down crying, and it was like, dude, and then somebody had pulled up, because on TikTok you can pull up a picture of whatever if you're on a computer you can pull up a picture, and the worshipful junior and senior warden were all Cadillacs, and he's like, there's where your money's going, bro. There's where your money's. It was just like, it was heartbreaking for this cat. Yeah. And all of us, all the real Masons were like, man. I mean, he literally just, he backed out immediately. He was so embarrassed, but he was crying, and we were like, poor dude. And we're like, one of the Masons were like, if you're still out there, bro, don't lose hope. Don't
find us. Come find us.
Go find us. Yeah, like it's not like that. Like
your heart's in the right place. Please come to the right one.
Come to us. Yeah.
Because honestly, even some of the clandestine ones, from what I've heard, there's a few out there who are trying to teach the right things and trying to do things the right way. It's just a lot of those aren't doing background checks, aren't doing like what we do. You know what I mean? Like,
and that is one positive I have heard of the co-Mason groups I've heard of.
Yeah,
is they still try to hold true to the mission of Masonry and doing charity. A lot of them do. And so I've heard a lot about like charitable excursions that co-Masonic lodges will do. I'm like, well, I can't recognize them as a Masonic lodge, but they are doing good work.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, we shouldn't discredit that, as there are people out there who are still trying to spread light in a Masonic way, even if they're doing it terribly wrong.
Absolutely.
Wrong being a speculative term.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and then, like, that's one of the biggest things. So I got into, actually, Jeff was with me. Not with me, but he was on the same TikTok as I was. And this man was a EA or fellow craft. And he was Rosicrucians.
Yeah, he was
and I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. And he said, well, I said, okay, I understand. The Rosicrucian groups you're in is not
Rosicrucianism is not Masonic Rosicrucianism.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I told him. And he was like, but he said, I've sat with the New Mexico Mason. I said, that's not what I'm saying. I said, I'm Rosicrucians, and you could not sit with me. And he said, how dare you? And I said, you're not a Master Mason, dude.
Well, and that's like, something else.
He could not get it.
It's a different thing, because, and I had that conversation with the master of our lodge currently.
Yeah.
He is a Rosicrucian, but not a Masonic Rosicrucian.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
And so when I started mentioning the Rosicrucians, he went, wait, and he pulled out his Rosicrucian membership card. I was like, I am a Rosicrucian.
Okay.
And he's like, no, and Masonic Rosicrucian is not Rosicrucians.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Is that what he said? Okay.
Yeah. And so we had that conversation of like the difference between the two and how they interact, and so it took me a while, but I did understand like the difference between the two and how they interact with one another and how they don't interact with one another.
Right. Well, this guy was trying to say, he said, oh, well, you guys take all your stuff from us. And I said, how would you know? How would you know? You've never sat in... you'd have to be invited.
Yeah.
First off, you're not even a Master Mason. But secondly, you'd have to be invited. Like, it's just... I was trying to tell him, dude, it's different. He said, it's not. Because I've sat with the New Mexico Master Mason. And I said, you're a fellow craft, dude. This is not the same thing. Like, there's so many things wrong with this conversation right now. But I said, I'm not going to get into it with you. It is what it is. But,
Because I remember that night, because at this particular time, I was getting kind of frustrated. But I was still smiling. I was still trying to stay who
Jeff
I was.
has way more of a cool temper than I do. Way more.
Yeah, and so then I just went to the website. I just went to the right website because he was talking about the website. I was like, okay, great.
Here's the website.
This is the website. And I was reading the bylaws, and I was reading everything directly from the website.
Yeah.
Hey, look, sir, this is what the website said.
Yeah.
Well, that's not right.
That's what your website that you sent us to.
Yeah, but he says, but this is your website. This isn't even our website. This is
Right,
your
we didn't
website.
make this. You told us to go here.
And you told us that you were part of this Rosicrucian thing, and I went to y'all's website.
Yeah.
You know, and I read the history of it. You know what I'm saying? What y'all do, and he still was trying to argue like, that's not it.
Right, it can still be a good group, but it's not a Masonic group.
Yeah.
Yes.
I told him, you would never sit with me. And he goes, how dare you? And I said, you wouldn't. And there was the Masons in the bottom of the comments. They're like, he's right. He's correct. You would never sit with, like, I'm like, bro, like, you're not even a Master Mason. And then you'd have to be invited. There's this whole thing behind it. It's not.
Right, the Masonic Rosicrucians are a very interesting appendant body within the Masonic realm. And you know, they're one of the few invitation-only bodies.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's one of those things like those who are members, they take it seriously and they know that there are stricter requirements than the bulk of, you know, general Masonry. And so
Yes.
it is very natural to be like, hey, no, that's not the way we're doing this. That's not what the Masonic Rosicrucians practice. It might be your practice, but it is not
Right.
what this group as a whole
Just because it has the
practices.
same name does not mean it's the same thing.
Right.
I mean, look at you mentioned football. In America, it means much different thing in Brazil.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Exactly.
I play football. Do you? Okay. Well, they're going to pull out a soccer ball. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Right, you're going to look at it and go, how do I throw this?
exactly.
Yeah.
Where's the uprights? Where's the H? You know what I mean? Where's the? What do I kick through?
Or, hey, can I field goal this one?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing that is so striking to me is the fact that how so many people are involved in, you know, say Masonry that is clandestine, and yet they will argue you down. They take it so seriously,
Right.
You know, of what they're a part of. And,
Well, we all want to see what we do is valid.
yeah, okay.
Sure.
Nobody wants to feel like what they're doing is invalid. And when you get rocked like that, it's real quick to go, oh man, has my life been a mistake?
Yeah, because they definitely look at all of that. Like you said, have my life been a mistake? What am I a part of? You know, am I going to get in trouble with this? And hey, how can I progress? You know, and then it's like, so right when you hear, for me, like when I hear those stories, it's like, man, you know, there's nothing that I could truly do to really help except say, hey, look, either get out of it, research X, Y, and Z, and try to find something legit. Explain to them what you was in, how you got into it, just to see if they're going to accept you later on.
Right.
Right? And yeah, I look at it like, you know, oh, poor baby, you joined the wrong group. No, come on. Let me show you the right way.
Yeah, he's like this. I'm like, nah, man.
Yeah, I'm like,
Get out of here, man.
You're trying to do the right thing, you just went the wrong way? Oh, come here.
Yeah. Hey, as you can see, 2 different levels of masonry right here, man. You know, it's like, no. But I do feel sorry for a lot of them. You know.
Well, because if you don't know, you don't know. I had a buddy, so I went. His name is Steve. I'm not going to give his last name, but I went to middle school with this cat, and he had put up a Masonic quote. And from middle school to now, I just saw him on Facebook. This was probably 8 months ago, and he looks pretty hardcore. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he looked. Let's put it this way: he looked like he did some time, and which he did. And I'll tell you how. I know because. I had posted something at the shrine or something. I can't remember. I had posted something, just an event that you can post. Let's put it that way. So I posted something at dinner or something like that, and on my Facebook. And he said, "Dude, you're a Mason?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And me and him were decent enough friends in middle school, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "I'm trying to." He said, "My dad was a Mason for 40 odd years." He said, "And I'm trying to get in, dude." He said, "But I got a background." And I said, I could tell by the picture, but okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, but, you know, I always knew him to be a good dude.
Right.
You know, you take the wrong
Right,
path.
people make mistakes, you know.
Mm-hmm. So he started listing a bit of what he had been involved in as a teenager. I mean, you know, as a teenager, you're stupid. It is what it is. And I said, he said, "Dude, and all I've ever wanted to do is be a Mason." He said, I've been working a good job for 5 years, and I've cleaned up my act, and this and this and that and that. And he had said, what are my chances of getting in? And I said, well, from what you've listed, it doesn't sound too crazy. I mean, you had nothing to do with DVs, had nothing to do with children, had nothing to do with this, had nothing to do with that. I said, go ahead and put in a petition with the lodge, or go and have a dinner. I said, but if you're that set on it, I said, don't give up. Go to different lodges, because different lodges,
check them out.
yeah, check them out, and be honest. Be as 100% honest with them, and tell them exactly what it is. I said, and if there's a will, there's a way. Most likely you'll get in, but if you don't, you don't. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but if you're that set on it, dude, give it a shot.
The worst they can say is, nah.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm like, and then go to the next lodge and the next lodge, or I told him even try the surrounding states,
Right,
because
take
you
your
never
time.
know. I mean, because he was being genuine with what he was saying,
Right.
and I believed him. I mean, he cleaned up his act 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, you made some mistakes. You know, the Albuquerque has a way of doing things to folks. So
Right. Having grown up here, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
Albuquerque's crazy. I mean, it was number one in everything bad in the 90s when I was growing up.
Right. You know, I remember hearing all the stats growing up going, wow, really?
Dude, so I graduated from the Cueva, and at the same time it was number one in education, top 10 in the nation for education. It was also top 10 in the nation for trucks. So it was like, okay, it's both at the same time. Like, it's just, yeah, it was crazy. And this is in the 90s, so it was just wild. But that's just Albuquerque for you. Albuquerque's just a wild state. It's, I mean, New Mexico's
right.
a wild state. Let's put it that way.
Right.
You know?
But you know, that analogy is really actually a good and important thing for people to know about Masonry. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I'm a lodge secretary, and I handle a lot of the processing of background checks and the stuff that gets reported to the lodge after you go through that process.
Sure.
And so, yeah, just because you have a felony does not exclude you from Masonry.
Sure.
You can apply to a Masonic lodge, and there is a question on the petition, at least here in New Mexico, of, hey, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Sure.
And so the best thing is to say, hey, yes,
Yeah.
and talk to the people before you even submit and say, hey, here is the situation. Because they will give you a realistic take of, hey, based on the people in our lodge, you may or may not make it. And they will be upfront with you about that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, having a felony does not exclude you from Masonry. We look at the person, and we do consider the history, but we look at who they are and who they want to become.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing that I, on the secretarial side, have to handle is, hey, anything pops up about this guy, I have a conversation about what popped up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that the only reason I said, because like I said, TikTok again, that's where I know all my brothers who are out of state, out of country, all that stuff. A lot of them, including UK, some lodges, not all, but they don't even do background checks. They'll base the man on the man. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's cool.
Right,
But
yeah,
at
the mandatory background checks have become, or they're a recent addition. They're something that's recently being strewn out across Grand Lodges as they realize they've had issues.
Sure.
Oh, most definitely.
But yeah, it is not a strict, every state even does a background check, honestly.
Yeah.
I believe many should.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's worth the conversation if anything does pop up.
Absolutely.
But yeah, quite honestly, state to state, even that varies.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying. One thing that I've seen, just talking with my brothers in other states, not necessarily other countries, but other states, is anything to do with children or anything to do with domestic violence. And there was one more, but they say forget it. But everything else can you can
Right.
you know, you might be able to get back in or
Right.
in or whatever, you know.
Right, you know, you got an assault charge when you were 18 for something.
Mm-hmm. There you
You're
go.
petitioning Masonry at 38. There's been 20 years between when those happened.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a new person in those 20 years.
You haven't had any other crimes. You've been at the same job for 20 plus years. That speaks a lot.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is, you know, people,
They change.
and that's the goal of Masonry is change.
Yeah.
Is within ourselves, within our communities, is change.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but even in that, like you were saying, there's some states that will look at it for consideration, and there's other states that will not, regardless of
No, that's what I'm saying.
Regardless of what it is,
and not
that
even
comes
other
back.
states, even just other single lodges.
Yes, exactly.
Even just lodges within the same jurisdiction. If they hear a felony, they say no.
Yes.
But it is not, at least within New Mexico, a strict thing of you must. It is
Yeah.
each lodge makes its decision on what they believe.
Yeah.
And that's why I told him, because I've seen good Masons. I'm not going to say all good, but for the most part, 80 percentile, who have made mistakes in the past and have gotten into a lodge because they've shown, I have this 5, 10, 15, 20 years of good, I'm a changed man,
Right.
and I'm trying to do even better, and some of those lodges will be like, come on in,
Right.
you know what I mean?
No, and
Like-
that ballot box that we all go through is the ultimate litmus test of the lodge.
Yeah,
It is, at the end of the day, you have to be unanimously accepted to join Masonry. The entire lodge has to agree with you as a
Yep.
person becoming part of this group. So it is really the test of what does this lodge believe.
yep,
Yeah. Because you can have 50 people in the lodge, and you just have that one person that says, you know what, I'm not going to accept his past to be a part
Right?
of my fellowship.
Right. That dude farted during dinner. I don't like him. I'm voting down. And seriously, that is all it takes is one vote to remove somebody's chances
Yeah.
of being a Mason.
no, it's so true,
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah. And that's the reason why, right, when I see so many people on TikTok or social media say certain things, is the fact that the process, they make it seem like the process is not strenuous, but it is.
It is.
And so it's you have to be a select person to actually join our fraternity, and that's one of the things that I like about it.
Right. Or at least have a goal of being one of those people one day.
Correct.
Sure.
Yeah, because right when it's all said and done, right, I sit back and says this lodge chose me and said, hey, I would be a great addition to this lodge.
Yeah.
And so out of all the people you talk to, because you're going to talk to some people.
I am. You're going to talk to more people than you want to. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you're going.
I'm an introvert, so I'm like, yeah, talk to a lot of people.
You're
Like,
going to talk to a lot of people, and based upon the conversations and how they feel about you, hey, at the end of the day, they're either going to say yes to it or they're going to say no.
mhm.
Yep.
But like I said, you're going to talk to some people. That's for
yeah.
sure. So it's not as easy as what most people make it sound.
Right.
Say, to
And
actually join.
especially as lodges across the country and across the world modernize and they get more cognizant about meeting people in the moment when they show up, they are greeting them, introducing the brothers around the lodge. As brothers modernize their lodges, that initial interaction becomes such a crucial point for people. It's like, hey, you're into this, here's these 8 brothers that you might really fit well with, who can vouch for you if you go well with them.
Very true.
Yeah, because earlier, right, you was ever talking about England. Because I was on TikTok and I was talking to a brother from England a couple nights ago. Because you introduced me to TikTok, I wasn't on social media at all. So this is the most social media I have done in the last 50 years. And the reason why I brought that up is over there, he said that it's a year process, and they will send you to they'll send you to like 20 or 30 lodges. Then once you get done those lodges, they actually pick and choose. Hey, these are the 2 lodges, or this is the lodge.
Right, it's kind of like a draft almost.
Yes, exactly. And I thought that was amazing, per se, because they actually pick the lodge that is best fit for your personality. What is it that you do, and how you govern yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, right, when I was hearing that, I thought to myself, it's like, man, I wonder what it's like, what the attrition rate is like.
Right.
How long do they stay?
Right. If they tell you like, hey, this is where you fit, how long do you actually stay with it?
Yeah. And so I was wondering with that. I was kind of puzzled, but I didn't get a chance to talk to the guy. But right, we exchanged information, so I'm probably going to email him.
Right, but no, it's a fascinating concept. It's like eHarmony, but for Masonic lodges. Let me match you with your top 3.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Send a like.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's
I can
comedy.
see that. But however, that's no different than what we do just by going to different lodges trying to figure out what lodge is the best fit for us.
Exactly.
However, for me, I only went to one lodge.
No.
And so I didn't get the luxury of going to like 5 different lodges. It wasn't until after I became a Master Mason is when I started to visit lodges.
Right.
And so far, man, I got like 18 lodges that I visited.
Right, and from the opposite side from my journey, having come up through the youth groups, I got to visit lodges around the state and see what they looked like, what their masters acted like, well before I was even able to petition Masonry.
Yeah.
And so when I was finally old enough to petition Masonry, all of the Albuquerque area lodges knew I was about to turn 18 and went, "Hey, have you thought about our lodge?" So I was probably between 3 different groups that I was, checking out pretty actively in my teens. And I went, as much as I like checking out these groups, I got to join the lodge that my dad is a part of. And so that's why I ultimately...
Oh, very cool.
That's why I ultimately chose 72.
Very cool. Tradition.
But just in circling around, it was like 72 was the younger, more vibrant group that I fit with as well. And so, I would have loved to have joined my DeMolay chapter sponsor body, or would have loved to have joined the more formal lodge in town.
Which lodge would that have been?
I was definitely considering Temple 6 for a long time.
Okay. The night I went and I met Jeff, you were at T6.
That's right.
The only reason I knew that is
I
because
remember meeting you.
Yeah, you were in a suit and you look.
Wait a minute, he was in a suit.
He was in a suit.
I almost never suit. I almost never suit.
But so he reminds me almost identical of my buddy Angelo, who I grew up with. I mean, he's like my buddy Angelo is Hispanic, but if Angelo was Caucasian, that would be Angelo.
Okay.
So when we met, we shook hands.
I remember that interaction. Wait a minute.
And I just looked at him.
I don't think I know you.
Yeah,
but
I'm like, bro, you look just like a real good friend of mine.
And so those are the groups I was really strongly considering based on all the stuff I did with DeMolay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was my father was the biggest influence in joining right here where I am now, combined with just the people I met were much more close to my age and interactive. And so that's where it felt more like home to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I mean, I'm glad you were here, and I couldn't have asked for a better first guest. So I'm glad you're here. Not to say that this is over. I don't know how much time you have, but I just want to let you know that I do appreciate you.
I felt very weird because being 28, I don't feel like the expert in the room ever.
You've been in longer than all of us, bro.
And that's the thing is I was talking to my girlfriend about this just last week about even though I'm really young, I've come in with a lot of experience, and it's confusing to be the person that someone looks to for advice, but at the same time, I absolutely love it because I've spent, at this point, almost 2/3 of my life in the Masonic family and doing stuff. And so I love that I've got the expertise.
And you're still so young.
Right, and that's the thing, and that's why I'm so confused by it. It's like, wow, people are looking to me advice, and I don't know how to properly write a check some days.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wish that I had the opportunity to do it is to join Masonry when I was in my 20s.
Yeah,
because I didn't join until like when I was in my 40s, late 40s, or what have you. Because of the opportunity that I was looking for, it would never presented itself. And yet, by being in it and studying and reading up about it, doing the history parts of it, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I wish I would have had the opportunity to do it when I was at least about 23, 24, when I was young enough to really more active. Because right now, after 9:30, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah,
right. It's that different kind of activity that goes on when you're in your 20s.
Yeah, and so just sitting back now, and I just wonder, it's like, man, how different would my life have been if I was a Mason? Would I be able to navigate life differently? As a Mason.
And that's one of those things. Is like I feel like we as adults get a lot of those what ifs in life. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? Yeah. And I feel like what if I had found this great thing earlier is one of the best what ifs to have. Because that means that you are not only content with where you are in the moment, but you're imagining how much more amazing it would be had you found this amazing thing earlier on.
Yes.
And, people are real quick to go, what if I had done this? Would my life not be so bad? But with Masonry, it's more of a, what if I had had more chances to spread light? What if I had had more chances to make the people around me good? And that's a lot of people's what ifs with Masonry, and that's what I love about it. Is like that's a good what if to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well said. Very well said. How has Masonry made you better?
He says, man, we can't believe him, man. We can't believe him.
I think it's just hard to say how it hasn't.
Okay.
And not something I share very commonly is I'm autistic, and so growing up, social cues were terrible for me. But I really fixated on what is it to be a good person. That was one of the things I really fixated on. Like, what was a good moral? What was a good guy gonna do? And so, finding Masonic youth groups, it gave me kind of a framework to say, like, okay, I want to be a good person. What does that look like? What does that person believe? And that quickly became a part of my everyday vernacular. Quickly became who I wanted to be and who I did become.
Sure.
And so I think that a lot of what I am today is credited to the Masonic family just because, it became my moral backbone.
Makes sense.
For sure.
Same question for you, Jeff.
What's that? What's the question, sir?
How has Masonry made you better?
When I examine my life, there's a lot of things that I don't do. I don't drink, club, party, bar hop, smoke. I don't do those things. And so for me, Masonry just validated my lifestyle. Because now through Masonry, I didn't have to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
I didn't have to, because being a single man, where I could stay out till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, do whatever I want to do. It became, and people always said, well, you're single. You should be able to do this. And you should,
right. You can do whatever you want to do, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so now Masonry pretty much, validated, why I don't do what I do.
Right.
Because when I look at Masonry, I judge. Well, I don't judge, but I put a lot of my actions up against Masonry. And so now, right. I'm laughing because I know what direction I wanted to go in. I'm trying to figure out what I wanted to say. It's almost as if when I'm driving down the freeway and somebody cuts me off, and the old me prior to Masonry, and I just wanted to maybe follow you around a little bit, wait till you get out the car,
Right, intimidate you a little bit.
Yeah, and give you some selective choice words, not profanity laced, but some selective choice words, and now. It doesn't even faze me to where somebody cuts me off. It's like, and then I look, and it's like,
right. It's like,
yeah.
If I were to do this, would this shine through as my Masonic thing?
Correct. And also, it makes me focus differently as well. Because now, right, if I have my hat on, square and compass, if I'm wearing any type of Masonic regalia, if I do anything negative, the first thing they're not gonna say that guy or Jeff. They're not gonna say that. They're gonna say the Mason. Yeah, that guy was a Mason.
Yeah.
And he came into the store and did
right.
this.
I mean, that's part of why I don't have a Masonic license plate. I know I'm a terrible driver, and I do not want that to be on the front of my truck when.
Yes. And so it forces me to examine, my actions based upon, how I represent the fraternity. I could represent it in a negative light or in a positive light.
Sure.
And so I try to be as positive as I can in public.
Right.
And so I judge that often.
Mm-hmm.
And so right when I look at the ritual and I look at certain things that I have said, about my behavior, that comes into the forefront of my mind as well.
Right.
Hey, you said this. Are you acting accordingly? No, not right now.
Right.
A self-examination. And it provided self-examination for me all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And so that's one of the things how Masonry has, pretty much helped me out. And because of that, I'm always talking about Masonry. I'm always sharing stuff about Masonry. Even when, and I'm also, when I share about Masonry as well, I'm sharing Masonry based upon, everybody wants to say, if you're a Mason, sacred law or what have you, but when I'm not in the lodge, when I'm going to say the Holy Bible. And so, right, it forces me to examine that aspect of my life. And so now, right, when I walk around, I have the Bible to self-govern me because of, say, Masonry.
Sure.
And so, and a lot of times people don't see it that way. People who are not Masons, don't see it that way.
And even sometimes people who are Masons have trouble viewing it when they've not been viewing it for a while.
True.
Very true.
Yeah. And so, I look at everything. I look at my actions, because even being a Mason, there might have been some things that I could have done a lot better. Yeah. Concerning certain brothers, and so that in itself is a self-reflection of, what, let me try to get this right with this brother. Hey, let me try to get this right with this individual person. And there's nothing, detrimental, because for me, right, when I talk about getting something right, I might not have talked to you coming down the hallway, and it was like, man, I know he saw me, oh, brother, I'm so sorry, man. I saw you, but my mind was refocused. Because, right, we all think, what we think. Right, we could all say that, hey, this is negative. I mean, I know he saw me. I know he didn't speak to me. Sometimes we get like that. And so, right, for me, I'm conscious of that.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's kind of, I always try and look at it, and I'm not the best at it, but I do try and look at it as, if you lost a pet, losing a pet's hard. People don't understand who aren't pet lovers, but losing a pet, losing not necessarily like somebody super close to them, but somebody close enough. I mean, there could have been 100 different things, or they got in a fight with the wife or the girlfriend or the boyfriend, whoever it may be, but you don't know what's going on in their life. So when you saw them walking around and they just kind of looked at you and it looked like they kind of threw you a mad dog, it's not on. It's a lot of the 99% of the time, it's not you.
You don't need to take it personally.
They didn't even see you. In their mind, they were 1,000 miles away doing something.
Right, their brain is across town winning an argument.
There you go, winning the argument.
But no, that was actually a big thing that I appreciated about going through all of the officer stations in line in the lodge. Is I knew that I came into Masonry with a slight leg up in terms of what I knew how to do in the Masonic family. But I was very intentional that I wanted to take my time and go through all of the different chairs on the way to being master. Because I have a really firm belief that each year has a different lesson you're supposed to learn with it.
Okay.
When you're a steward, there's lessons you learn. When you're a deacon, there's lessons you learn doing that. When you're a warden, there's a lesson each year of what you need to understand. And yeah, from a practical standpoint, it helps you organize the lodge for when you're master. Sure. But from a personal standpoint, it also helped me realize what I lacked in, what I missed in lodge, and what I had an effect over. So all the things that I found negative about my interactions in Masonry, I realized that as an officer, I had parts that were within my purview to fix. So I would take that year to really focus on, like, man, what lesson am I lacking in that this role can teach me?
Yeah.
And that's really what built me up in terms of every job in a lodge is important because it teaches you something different.
Sure. That makes sense. Makes a lot, and that's very perceptive of you. I mean, because, I'm only a steward, and, I guess once I take my next step it'll be a different story, and I'll see what I consume out of that. But I take pride in my cooking, pride in my meals,
Right.
and in fact, as a senior steward, when I move up, I don't plan on not cooking. I'm still gonna
Right.
like, just because. I mean, maybe it's because I'm picky. Maybe it's because, yeah. I mean,
Oh no, you're picky when it comes. Yeah, you're picky.
I'm damn picky.
Yeah.
But also, like, I cook for the shrine too, so I get a lot of great feedback. So, and I've been cooking for myself since I was 13, 14. My mom stopped cooking for me. You
Right.
know what I mean? So like I know how to cook. Like there's like probably I can count on one hand the things I pride myself on, and one of them is cooking. So I'm like, I would love to help the brothers out. I feel like that is my reward, is people saying, man, that's some good
Well, that
food,
was a
bro.
good dinner,
Okay,
yeah.
hell yeah, bro. Like, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm like, good, because I worked hard on it, because to cook for the lodge, a lot of folks don't know, is it's 48 hours, because you buy the food,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, and then the next day you cook the food, or sometimes, like, if I'm going to smoke something, I start at 6 a.m.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
No, and I feel that in my soul, because the year that I was junior warden, I didn't have support in the kitchen,
oh,
and not because people didn't offer, but the two stewards that I had that year, one had passed away 2
Oh,
months
man.
into the term, and another had a horrific legal episode in Mexico,
oh,
and is still fighting it to this day.
oh, man.
But those
Over
two
8 years.
8 years.
Damn.
And so those two people were my stewards. And I couldn't fault them for being out because, there's no way to control any of that.
Yeah.
But, as junior warden, I had to totally go it alone at times.
Yeah.
And so my plan with that was I took the whole day off and I made it my day of meditation.
Yeah.
I made it a day of service to the lodge.
And
that
what
was
he
the thing
knows
is,
as
like,
a cook, because of the way he said it, what he knows as a cook is you can take your time. If you wake up at 7, 8, 9 o'clock a.m., you can take your time and peel your potatoes and do all this, and you're not rushed. Because when you're rushed is when you're, like, pulling your hair out.
Right.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
and that was the thing is, as junior warden, at least in our lodge, your job is to cook the meal.
Sure.
But, the lesson behind that, I had to take that extra step further of, it is something that can be a day of service, not only to your brothers, but, to deity.
Yeah.
Taking that day to just bask and cook and do something that's worth, warming the hearth for.
Yeah.
Is something that is a lesson of just being a junior warden here. Is
Well, if you ask Adam,
preparing
it's
and hosting.
to make sure that the meals are fed.
No, that's the task. That's
Is that
the
task? The task.
not
There you
the
go.
lesson.
Okay.
The lesson is how do you build a place for people to come.
I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
And a lot of times, right? You can tell.
Excuse me,
You
one
can
sec.
tell,
I gotta
right?
keep me
When
still,
when
so
the
I
meals
see.
were prepped, throughout the day versus like 30 seconds, 30 minutes prior to.
Right, I walked in with pizza. We're good.
Walk in with pizza, or matter even if you walk in with a full meal, that's cooked, and
Right.
then you're eating. It's like, hey man, what are you serving us? Like, what's going on here? And that's the thing, about saying a masonry, right? When you truly understand it, when you truly embrace the servitude behind it, right? You really want to put your best foot forward. You really want to strive to be the best
Right.
you can be.
And not just because it's a pride thing, but it's you're doing the best because it's what the world deserves.
Yes.
It's, doesn't matter if it's the smallest little task. The people out there in the world deserve somebody who's trying their best because, at the end of the day, that's what we want from other people.
Yeah.
We just want somebody who's going to try their best in talking to us, and we're going to try our best in talking to them.
Yes, exactly. Because it's just like for you, right? And you and Nick, y'all was cooking, and so like a lot of times for me, I'll just come here and just clean up or vacuum.
Right.
Because and it's not. It has nothing to do with how the brothers see me or view me. It's the fact that I look around, I was like, oh, it just needs to be vacuumed.
There's something that needs to be filled. I can help out with that one.
Yeah, that's quick. Come in 15, 20 minutes, vacuum the lodge, and I'm good. and and it's not the fact that you do it for people to say anything
To give it
you.
attention.
Yeah, because for me, I'll come here when there's nobody here, and everybody look around and say, "Oh man, it's somebody
Oh,
back
it's
there.
nice in
Yeah,
here
it looks
today."
nice in here today." And I'm like, and I don't say anything because it's just servitude. Because you want
There's no unimportant jobs.
exactly not in masonry at all. Why you got the coat on, man?
I'm chilly, bro. I don't know what to tell you. It's always freezing in this lodge.
It is pretty cool.
Always freezing
Hey,
in
no,
this lodge.
hey, I'm over here sitting on my hands.
Right.
Hey, when y'all see me moving back and forth, I'm just trying to stay warm.
Right, no, I've been blessed with insulation. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm over here like, ooh, man, you know what I'm saying, struggling a little bit.
Jeff's trying to create fire with his hands under the table.
I'm over here with my hands. And the funny thing is, right, we can get up and turn on the heat.
We just don't.
We talk.
I know, but we
It's right
don't.
there.
Yeah, the heater's right there, man. We can turn it up if we want to, but yet, man, we just sitting here.
It's okay.
We're taking it.
We're saving our energy bills.
Exactly. As long as I don't see my breath, man, I'm good. But if I start to see that, man, I got to tap out.
Yeah,
hey, man,
right.
hey, man, I got to go, bro.
Right? Let's close this meeting.
Yeah, but man, hey, this is definitely truly fun.
No, this has been
like
good.
I said, I just wish that we was able to get a feedback from everybody else. And so lessons learned.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a fourth guest is huge. So when Davin said he had to leave early, I was like, all right, cool. I mean, here's what it is. He had, he had
At least he showed up.
prior
Yeah,
engagement.
Right,
Oh,
everybody's
yeah.
got their schedules.
Yeah, prior engagements. We all do. I mean, but, yeah, I'm appreciative of both of you guys, honestly. But we'll wrap it up now. But this has been great.
Yeah,
I thought it was awesome.
This was a good time. I'm glad we got the chance to do this.
Same here. Hope to have you on it as a guest again very soon. If not later.
I hope I got the expertise you need. I'm willing to be here.
But even if not, like just to come hang out. I mean, that's what I'm really, really looking for. Like, this was way more educational than I had expected it to be, because I had made this for stories, like just.
Yeah,
You
just a
know,
little shoot
in
the
high
breeze.
school,
Yeah.
and what did you do in middle school? And there was this funny girl or funny guy or whatever. But I also had told Jeff, and the reason I called on Jeff to be a co-host, one of the the biggest reasons, he's retired. So, and I'm retired, so I'm like, I can call upon him if I have something at noon,
Right.
and he will be able to, you know
Right.
what I mean?
A different kind of availability.
Yeah, and
at
plus,
times.
he was my coach, him along with Adam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we can do with this, and we'll get some episodes out there, and
Yeah.
see what it is, and any and everybody's always welcome. So that you will definitely be invited again.
I appreciate
But even
that.
if not, I say, hey, when's your next one? I'll create a
Oh,
spot
right.
for you, brother.
Right.
Honestly, like, it's been great. I'll create a spot for you. We'll pull the camera back. We'll get 6, 8 Masons on here. I mean, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we'll figure it out. But
Right, having too many is a good problem.
absolutely,
Yeah, most definitely.
because there's more stories and there's more fun
Right.
and more.
Everyone's got their little slice of the world to share.
Somebody might come up with a good story or a good saying or a good quote or a good. It's just that these are all little gems that you can pick out of it, which is it's great, because I didn't want it to be when my idea of this was not to be super formal.
Right.
I wanted laughs, and we got a ton of them tonight. So it's a beautiful thing.
Don't weight it down with laughter. You said ton of weight it down.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
though. Like
yes.
I just want.
Yeah,
I didn't
not-
want it to be too serious.
Right. And that's the thing, is people see Masonry as this unapproachable, untenable thing sometimes.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it really is people who just want to be better than they were yesterday.
Sure.
That's all it is. It's
but-
people who want to grow a little bit more, grow with a community, and have a good time doing it.
Absolutely. But my thing with podcasts, what I've seen, is if you get too educational, you lose a lot of folks. You just lose a lot of folks.
No,
But if you have education along the way,
Right.
and everybody's being genuine,
Exactly. If you're doing an educational thing, it's a very niche audience.
Exactly. But if you just so happen to get gems along the way,
Right. People
that's
like,
when you really
people like being surprised by their learning.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
like, what is this? I just tapped on it. Yeah, because that's like the other night, right, when we did the TikTok live. Right, we had people just stop in and say, "Hey, right, we heard y'all, we saw what y'all posted, so right, we just wanted
What
to
is
come
this?
in.
Yeah.
What is this?" And a lot of people stayed longer than what they anticipated on staying. And I was shocked at that.
Yeah, we had 2 Prince Hall Masons just chilling in there, just talking with us. Like it was chill. It was a good time. And one of them came in. He came in, and bro, for 45 minutes, he was, well, if you guys want Masonic questions, I'll ask him. Come to find out, he was a Prince Hall past master, but playing with us. You know what I mean?
He's like,
and
let me test you a little bit.
And then after the 45 minutes, he's like, hey, man, I'm a past master out of so-and-so. He's all, I like what you guys are doing, dog. Like, this is cool.
This was fun.
Like, yeah. So we're like, okay, cool,
You
man.
gave me the answers I was hoping for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he
You
said.
passed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically that's what he said. He said, "Yeah, man. Hey, all y'all's question was legit. Y'all was right. Y'all just need to touch it up on this aspect of it." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And
Jeff was off like by a few years on a few of the dates, but luckily we had another Prince Hall Mason as a guest, Crybaby Mason, and he was correcting Jeff, and Jeff was, "Oh, thank you." So yeah, you're 5 years off on this or whatever, but it was close.
Right.
He was real close on it.
And that's the cool thing about Masonry. It's like all about just sharpening a little bit of your skills to. Nobody's trying to cut you down. It's all just trying to sharpen you up.
Exactly. But we had a ton of laughs along the way, and there was, the ton of, not a ton of people, but there was like 15 people watching.
Nice.
And, I mean, I figure if we can, if we can get, a few people asking, even just asking about Masonry, it's a win. It's a win.
Yeah.
Well, and even if you're not getting the Masonic interest, you're still getting Masons who are checking it out and gaining something from that experience too.
Sure.
It's a twofold benefit for sure.
Sure. I mean, because I know plenty of Masons like who come in, like I said, for